Hello, this is Mary from PaperView Crafting, and today I've got a little project that I've had lots of good feedback on Facebook about, and it's this little Easter book, and when you open it up, inside it's full of Kinder eggs. So this is quite an easy little project in two parts, so let's get started and see what you think of it. So first of all, I'm going to do this in a slightly different colour, and I'm going to use the Pear Pizzazz card. Let's just come out a little bit to give you a bit more space to see. And I'm going to use this DSP, which is from the Confetti Celebration pack. I've used an awful lot of yellow and Eastery colours so far, and I thought this was a bit fun. The speckled paper made me think of eggs anyway, and the green's quite a lovely spring colour, so I decided to use this DSP. The one I used before was from Flower Pot, and this is the crushed curry cardstock, but I'm running really low on it now because I've done so many Easter projects. So we're going to use Pear Pizzazz and this DSP instead. And we'll start with the Pear Pizzazz, and the cover is very simple, and it's just 5 3/4 inches by 3.5 inches, and then the inside you actually make a little box and stick it inside, and this one's 5 3/4 by 6. So the scoring is very simple on the actual cover. Let me just move things out of the way somewhat and bring in the scoreboard, and we'll get started. Okay, so with the long side across the top on your scoreboard, all you have to do is score it at 2.5, and then the easiest thing is just to turn it round to the other side and score it at 2.5 again, and basically that just gives you the little cover with the spine. So that's all you need to do on that. And then with the bigger piece that's going to make the box inside, with the 5 3/4 edge along the top, you score it at 1/4 inch. Whoops. 2 1/4, 3 and 5. Then turn it a quarter turn to the 6 inch side, and then score it at 3/4, 1 1/2, 4 1/2, and 5 1/4. And that's it. That's our scoring done. So if we get rid of the scoreboard for a minute, pop that out the way, and then we're just going to reinforce our score lines with our bone folder. So just burnish them all so that they're nice and crisp. Now I've used Kinder mini eggs, but I think that most mini eggs are around the same sort of size. So I think you could probably put in whatever you had to hand, really. Okay, and then this is the book cover. So we'll work on that for a minute. So I've got the Project Life corner rounder, and I'm just going to round off these corners. That's it. Just get rid of those bits. It just gives it a nicer finish. And so we've got some DSP to go on 3 of the panels of this. So these are cut at 2 1/4 by 3 1/4, but don't worry too much about it, because I'll put all of these on my blog and a link to my blog below. So, and then I'm just going to use some of the crushed curry on a sponge to bring the yellow in, because the eggs have got all these colours in them. So you can make this project to coordinate with whatever eggs you're using, or you can make it a very Eastery sort of colour. I know what I should have done beforehand. We just want to round the corners of the DSP. You only need to do it on one of the long sides and doing it, so only on 2 corners instead of doing it on all 4 corners. So this is crushed curry, but you can use any colour that you like on it. And then I also like to sponge the edge of the book because I think it just finishes it off nicely. It just looks a bit different. And when your sponges are as soaked as mine are, you don't actually have to keep loading them with ink or anything. You can get quite a nice effect just by doing it this way. Now these are the bits that take the time, but these are the bits that make it look really special. So it's up to you. You can leave it plain or, you know, do as much or as little as you want with it. Right, so we're just going to stick the DSP on like this. So I'm just going to use snail. You can take a bit more time over this project, depending on how many you want to do. And then put some on the back. Like that. And then we're just going to put it on the inside cover, because obviously the little box, which is the inside of our book, is going to sit on there and cover that. Okay, so in order to make this box, that is going to be our back with the little lip there. So this is going to be your front, and if you keep this edge as the bit that comes out into the book, then you're going to get the nicest finish. So this is going to be our front, so this is where we're going to cut our window, and I'm going to use the Chalk Talk framelets, one of the dies from there, but you can use any die you want. We're going to put a window sheet inside so the eggs don't fall out, so you can use absolutely any die that you want, or a punch if it'll fit. It's entirely up to you, but I'm just going to go and run this through the Big Shot, and then I'll show you exactly what it looks like afterwards. So there it is. I've made my little window using the Chalk Talk framelets die, and I'm going to save this little bit because we can use that again in a little while. So before I put this together, there's a bit of cutting to do and a little bit of sticking, but it's all pretty straightforward. So we're going to cut along our score lines right up to the top of the box, so it's along 2 score lines. And we're going to cut off this little corner, this little thing here. And this is the bit that's going to keep our box together, and then we're going to cut in exactly the same way across the top. These are the flaps that are going to flap into our box. So if we fold the other bits out of the way, what we're going to do is, we don't need all of those, so we're going to cut those little bits off, and then we're going to give them a little bit of shaping just so that they sit a bit neater and the box closes nicely. That's it, and do the same on this side. I just find it easier to put the other bits out of the way, and then I know that I'm cutting the right bits. I don't know why, but I always seem to be really cack-handed doing these sort of things when I'm doing them for a video, but it's, you just do them automatically when you're doing it yourself. And then we're just going to cut these in. And these will flap in. I don't know, silly me, we don't need these back bits. We can take these off completely because we only need, this is the bit that's going to be stuck to the back of the book cover, so we don't actually need those bits. There's no point in spending hours cutting those. There it is. So sorry about that, I completely lost my train of thought there. Right, so now we've got a little piece of window sheet which is cut at 2.5 by 1 3/4, and that will go there over the little window, and a little piece of DSP which will go on the back, so that if the eggs don't cover everything, you'll be able to see this through and it'll look quite pretty. So we're going to stick the DSP in the back first, and then we'll stick our window sheet. Now you might want to use something like a sticky strip or something on this. Just for speed purposes, I'm going to use snail at the moment. There we go. So there's our little box partly made, and now we just need to put it together. So we're going to put sticky strip along this 1/4 inch piece here. I've used so much sticky strip recently, my poor old scissors are stuck together. Burnish it well, and then the back will come off quite easily, and then just cut the corners off so that you get a nicer finish. And then if we just peel off the back, I just find it easier to do it this way around, and it should just, try not to get my head in shot. There we go, and there's our little box all ready to stick in our book. So then all you have to do is fold the bottom in like that, put your eggs in. Oh, I need a few more eggs. You bear with me one. Oh, they're all over here. They seem to have gone walkabout. There we go. And then we can just catching on the DSP. There we go. So we can finish that off by just sponging the edge to make it match the rest of our book. On the one that I made before as my demo module, I put the DSP, matching DSP on the front before I die cut it, so it had a sort of an edge, but this is quite pretty as well, just leaving it like this, so it's entirely up to you. And then in order to get it to stick properly, we're just going to put some sticky strip across the back. 2 pieces should be sufficient. Okay, so before we put this onto the back of our little book like that, we're just going to punch the holes for the ribbon to go through. So I've got the 1/8 of an inch hole punch, single hole punch, and I just like to make the hole roughly where I want it to be. If you want to be more exact, then you can measure it, and then I just go through with my paper piercer to mark the bit where I want it to be. And that's it. And then our little box will go on there. like that, and the ribbon will thread through and keep it shut. So we'll just make sure that you don't put the hole too close so that you can't get the ribbon through. So there we go, that's our little book like that. And I'm going to use this lovely cotton ribbon. It's 1/4 inch wide, and this is in the Pear Pizzazz, so it exactly matches this little project. And all you've got to do is just thread it through, and this is going to be what holds your book together. So if you want to use a contrast ribbon, then you can. In fact, the pink would have looked rather lovely, the strawberry slush that's in this, but I'm going to keep this project fairly spring-like and green for now. And that's your little book, the basic little book, and you can do whatever you want to decorate it. I'm going to use the Stampin' Up stamp set called For Pete's Sake, because it's one of my favourites. This is the sentiment that I've put inside, which says enjoy an excellent Easter. I also love these little eggs and the You Crack Me Up, so I'm going to use those as well. I'm going to use the same technique for everything, but I have actually already done this and cut it out. And it looks like that because I've used another framelit die to cut it out, and that's another of the Chalk Talk framelits that I've used to cut that one out. This is the stamp when it's been mounted up, but I've used individual markers instead of a stamp pad so that I can get all these wonderful colours that echo the colours in the DSP. So the technique I used is probably familiar to most of you, but I used the Stampin' Right markers. This one is Island Indigo, and I used the brush end, and using the side of the brush I just colour in the part of the stamp that I want in that colour. It's ever so easy and it's incredibly effective. So we've just used Hello Honey, Strawberry Slush. We'll use the Pear Pizzazz because that's going to match the rest of our project, and it sort of ties it all together. And then I think we'll use the Daffodil Delight because that's a really lovely Eastery colour. Then a little bit of Whisper White cardstock. If you think it's dried a bit, just huff on it. It just moistens it again. And there you get that really cute little design. This is the You Crack Me Up stamp. I'm just going to do that in the Pear Pizzazz. There we go. And then I'm going to use this, which is the Modern Label Punch. It's a tight fit on the eggs, but it does work. And it does give you quite a nice shape to go on the front of this little book. So I'm just going to sponge the edges with the Pear Pizzazz ink. And then we've got that little bit that we cut out at the beginning, and I'm going to sponge the edge of that with the crushed curry for a bit of contrast. And then I'm going to use dimensionals on everything just to give it a bit of lift. But obviously once you've made your little book, it's entirely up to you what you decide to put on it. You may have things that you love using that you want to use on it, or things that fit in with your colour scheme. As you can see, I've stamped something and didn't like it on the back of this Whisper White, but actually, you know, there's no reason why you can't use things like that again when when you're doing a project like this, because nobody's going to see the back of it, and once it's stuck on your project, nobody's going to be any the wiser, so there's no point in wasting stuff. Right, so we'll just open up our little project and pop this sentiment inside. Just take the backs off all of these dimensionals, and we're just going to slide that one in there. And then I think to finish it off we may use some candy dots, but you can use whatever you want, whether it's pearls or rhinestones, or you might want to keep it just the way it is. But I really love the candy dots. These are the subtles, which a lot of these colours actually come from. And I think I'm going to use the yellow on here. There we go. So that's it. That's my little Kinder Surprise Easter book. Let me just find the other one for you. So that's what happens when you use the you put the DSP on before you actually make the little box, and then you can use that bit which has got the pattern on it as well, and that's the variation where you don't. So I hope you like it. I hope it answers the questions that I've been being asked on Facebook. I hope you have a go for yourself, and just let me know. I'd love to see some photos. So happy Easter to you all. Take care, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.